hello everyone. Welcome to... I'm about to say the old title. Welcome to Midweek Gaming.
We didn't spend forever going and setting that up.
Yeah, we did not spend forever setting that up, and I did not spend 6 hours on YouTube trying to fucking fix a banner for nothing, only to screw it up. And there goes all the ad revenue.
God. There is no money.
I'm living in delusion, okay? I'm pretending there is. One day it'll be true.
We just need around 1,000 more subscribers.
1,000 more subscribers, and about 100 hours more watching time.
And then 10,000 more views.
So if you see this video, share with a friend, please.
Yes.
But anyways, hello everyone. That's over with. As usual, welcome to Midweek Gaming. I'm Nick over there providing
gameplay.
I don't know what he's providing. Gameplay. He's providing gameplay. I don't know.
Video content that which you are watching, which is also the reason why you are currently viewing.
Yes. Presumably, or you're just here.
The one using the internet connection they have to provide you with this broadcast.
Live from Los Angeles. I wish. We don't have the money for Los Angeles.
Is it?
Live.
Oh God, what was his name in Fallout? No. In Fallout 3, the dude, the broadcaster in Fallout 3. He basically had like a Snoop Dogg thing, basically, where he's like, live from the Capital Wasteland. Like he literally did that.
Live from
I can't remember his name. I literally wanted to say it's like live from the Capital Wasteland. This is. It's like I can't remember his name.
Yes, this broadcast is coming you from your game system that is currently on right now.
Yes.
You left it on when you left the house. We are actually in Fallout right now. I'm currently fending off a rad
the radio on.
I'm currently fending off a rad roach as we speak.
POV, you left the radio on that unknown channel. Yes. Well, there you go.
66666, the odd channel.
What is it? Is this our first actual stream with the new channel, or is the name, or is this the second?
I don't know, actually. This might be. Hold on, let me check this real quick.
No, here, I can whip up Discord real quick, and I can look at when exactly you tried to change the channel. So you tried to change it on the 8th, which was the same day as the Game Awards. So you basically besides the Game Awards stream, this is the first actual stream / video with our new channel name. So there we go. Again, proper name. Hopefully it is cohesive in such a way for people to understand. No matter what, things are still going to be botched, so hopefully you enjoy that.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah. We'll
make a botchery out of this.
We will debauch it all. But anyways. But yes, so technically, I'm tired today, so I'm not actually going to be the one doing the driving force behind the show today. He will be. I just came. I came back 2 years ago from a massive exam.
Long story short, he had an exam pretty much around the time where we normally would have streamed, which is why if there is anyone who potentially watches this, we're streaming now, which is much later, around 7 o'clock.
And thank you for watching at 7 o'clock. That's devotion. Here's a free sub.
Well, I mean, anyone who's around, what is it, the West Coast would technically be like 5 o'clock or 6 or 5 or 4 o'clock right now. So for the most part, it's fine. And if you're someone in Asia right now, then you'd be potentially waking up, and anyone in Europe would be like, but you know.
So yeah.
Don't worry.
Don't worry about it.
No moral of the story, no matter what, this is just going to become a video no matter what, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry. You can always watch it later on.
You're going to be able to watch this as many times as you want and make fun of us.
No, you should do the first part. Maybe not the second part. You should do the first part.
Yes.
Like 6 times, at least.
16 times. At
16
least.
times. At least. Then we can discuss potential.
Expect a single view for every minute of your
Every minute you watch this, you're supposed to view it once.
Every moment you live, you are meant to be watching.
We just glue you in front of a computer screen. You will watch this now.
We'll just keep this on loop forever. There we go.
But anyway, so yeah, there's no big, well, at least not big in the whole AAA industry.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Well, at least
Yeah,
not from us.
yeah. I mean, there's nothing
There
that's
is, but not
been.
from us.
Yeah, for right now, what we've got isn't something that's like initially big, like near or of the day of it happening. This is about a week after it came out and everything, but we're gonna be talking about today the Dwarf Fortress. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say still relevant, still relevant.
No, it's still relevant, but it's still like not of that like right around the initial time it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, this we're talking about the Dwarf Fortress Steam and itch.io release for Dwarf Fortress, a game that has been around for about a good number of years, since 2000.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah, since 2006, from
There's
developers.
There's a good chance some of you are younger than this game. Let that sink in.
Some of us are older, but you know, not by much.
Some of us are older, but you know, we won't point fingers.
But basically, this game has been around for a good number of years. So there's that, and basically, the developers have been actually working on video games for about since 2002. And their current game that they've consistently been working on over the years has been Dwarf Fortress, which, to anyone who is familiar with that game, for the longest of time has been known as the command prompt game. And for very good reason, because it has been a very mechanical-based game, which is the exact thing the command prompt is for, and not very much of a graphical UI-based game. Which leads us to the whole part of the Steam and itch.io release, which henceforth I will only call it the Steam release. Basically, the whole premise of that release was to actually release the game onto a wider scale in such a way that added proper UI, menu management, and, of course, graphical interaction with the viewer and their eyeballs, allowing them to better understand what they are looking at, besides allow me to go and view this on a separate menu. That way I can actually get an idea on what you are. Basically, now, in this game, you can actually look at a dwarf, and you can see a difference between one dwarf and another, going and having different clothing, different hairstyles, different colors, everything. So, for the most part, this game has had a major update in both graphical and UI, allowing you to actually play the game in such a way that you can actually function your brain and not have it melt as you try to figure out what you are looking at without, you know, having to give yourself more carpal tunnel than you already would. But, moving on.
So yeah, if you look at this game, you're going to look at this and be like, well, not anymore. The game's more graphical now. If you looked at it
no, I can go and basically give you a stock difference. Basically, Dwarf Fortress right now, what you're looking at right now is the Dwarf Fortress on the Steam release, which is the one that's been currently updated. Both versions of the game, basically, there are two versions of the game. There's the main Bay 12 Games release and the Steam release. And both of them are basically the exact same game mechanically. The only difference is the graphical difference. And pretty much what the game originally looked like for the longest of time until a few days ago was a hodgepodge mess of...
As I like to lovingly call it, it looks like Atari 2600 on your screen.
Basically.
Which, I mean, if you're not a coder, that's going to terrify the heck out of you. If you've got a coder mind, you're like, okay.
This is a modded version of what people would mostly see, but this is around the quality that you would see. For the most part, it was just mainly letters and symbols that you would be able to normally see on your game.
Looks like you're translating some foreign alphabet.
There's a reason why there were people who called it the command prompt game. because it was literally just the command prompt with just extra symbols.
Ten
So
thousand years later, they're just gonna dig up an image of this game. They're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, we've discovered a foreign alien language," and then some like ancient Jews will be like, "Nah, nah, that's just the original version.
that's what you're
Dwarf
looking at.
That's just Dwarf Fortress." That's...
But here's another one, kind of comparing the two. So you've got the old game on the left and the new game on the right. Literally the exact same game, but you kind of get the idea where one of them looks very confusing, and the other one kind of gives you a better idea on what you're looking at. It's like, oh, hey, instead of a weird looking happy face, it's an actual person on the other one. Like, you're actually looking at images that your brain can, for the most part, process rather than, yes, I am a computer developer and I know exactly what I'm looking at. And then some kid looking at it and being like, symbol.
Symbol.
Literally me as a kid. That was basically me. I just looked at the game and was like, symbols.
I might just buy it. You know what? I might just buy this game just to look at it and be like, "Ooh, I have no idea what's going on."
I don't know what I'm looking at. But basically, right now, there are two versions of the game that you can get. Right now in the description is the Bay 12 Games website, which will take you to the primary website for the developers and the game, which has both the free version and a link to the Steam or itch.io version of the game. And basically, the only real difference is the Steam version is one that you have to pay for, which if you want, you can go and pay for a sound, like a whole bunch of a big soundtrack, adding in basically what you're hearing right now, if in between my speaking words and everything, and as well as the actual graphical HUD where you can actually see images besides symbols. But if you're rather just caring for the actual mechanics of the game and just want to try it out for yourself, you very much can, because you can go to the website and just download it here, and you'd basically be able to just actually try out the game. For the most part, the game is literally just a mechanical game. You don't really need the graphics to play it and enjoy it. The graphics, for the most part, just go and make
it for a very long time, so that proves it's possible.
Yes, I mean, for the most part, you only really want the graphics if you don't want your brain melting if you're looking at the old graphics and you have no idea what you're looking at. Like, if you're someone like a computer programmer like me and Nick, where you kind of have an idea on what you're looking at, then you might have an easier time with it. But for the most part, most people will look at like a whole bunch of computer code and stuff like that, and will say, "Oh God, what am I looking at?"
You're gonna look at this and be like,
So if you're one of those people who don't know what you're looking at when it comes to that, you could consider the proper full release, or if you feel like it, you could go and watch some videos and see what the content actually is. For the most part, the game is basically an entire world simulator and generator, going and generating everything from top to bottom, every single layer that you could possibly be on, every single material, every single civilization, everything they will possibly do, and how they will interact with one another. And it will do that over a long period of time, however much time you want. And in the default game, in the old version, right now there are three ways of playing. There is the Fortress mode, which is the whole premise of the game, Dwarf Fortress, where you go and not really take control, more of godly intervention, like, okay, suddenly I want you to do this, suddenly dig here, do that. But you kind of control a fortress and go and tell them what to do and where to build and stuff like that. There is the adventure mode, where you directly control characters and actually interact with the world, like in an actual video game sense. Like, all right, I'm running around, I'm gonna interact and kill these people all of a sudden way. And then there's the Legends mode, which is basically you go and bring up an entire file of everything that has possibly happened in the world, as well as everything that is currently happening. Like, it brings up basically a story of the entire world you created.
Translated, hands-off God mode.
Basically, it is, besides adventure mode. Adventure mode, like I said, is an actual, you play as the characters. But
well, then you have to actually interact with them. You could just be like, you do your shit, I'm just gonna be chilling in heaven.
Yeah, basically. But currently, the Steam version doesn't have adventure mode. I believe that was an update coming, I think, in another month or two. Um, but for right now, they just focused on getting the default Fortress mode and, of course, Legends mode set up. So I'm going to go and quickly generate a world. That way people can kind of see what's what. So for the most part, the game, both versions of the game behave the same when it comes to generating a world. You can go and select different lengths of timeline, civilization sizes, and how difficult you want the world to be in different aspects. So we're just going to leave, for the most part, things around default. And we're just going to generate a world real quick.
See that, SimCity and EA? Eat your heart out.
Yeah. I can generate a world better than you. Basically, currently, the Steam version has garnered around 300k units sold within about a week. And within the first 24 hours, I believe it was somewhere around, what was it? 15k within the first 24 hours. So a very good amount of people have went to download this game right away, and obviously this game has been around for around 20 years, literally around 20 years. So like, it is old, and it is like something a lot of people are familiar with.
You gotta give it to the developers for sticking around for 20 odd years.
Yes. No,
that takes devotion.
They put a lot of their will to just keep it going.
Though, in fairness, this really does stretch the boundaries of what I would consider a game. It's more of a fun science project. Not saying people couldn't enjoy this. I certainly would buy it just to find what it could do. But I don't know if you. This is not the game in the most traditional sense.
No, it's not your FPS shooter. It's not your top-down SimCity or literally The Sims. It's not your FIFA. It's not that. But it is a game, if you're familiar with RimWorld, which is one of the things that I wanted to touch on, then you kind of get an idea on what this game is if you're familiar with RimWorld. Right off the bat, you can see our world here. So I'm gonna go and click the play now. That way I can properly show you. But basically, the game will, when you go to generate a world, will generate a world like you saw. Then you go, and if you're satisfied with it, you just click play now or play later, and then you can get rid of it if you didn't want it or something. And then when you click to actually play the game, you're given with these three options, like I've said: Fortress, Adventure, and Legends. Legends, which I'll click on real quick, literally just goes and tells you all the main different stuff. So you got historical figures, and you can go through the different lists and all the different things that they've possibly done. They've been struck down, discovered, stuff like that. And all the different structures and historical codes and scrolls, stuff like that, religions, everything. So we're going to go over to Fortress mode, and it's just going to quickly go and throw us down on a date. We can go and start the tutorial, but we're not going to do that because we don't need no tutorial. So, this is the world that my computer at least has generated. Going and creating areas where dwarven elves.
The dwarvish elves. I'm seeing some freaks of nature here.
Yeah. Something doesn't seem right. So we've got
Tolkien is offended.
We've got a bunch of elven forests over on the eastern side. We've got some human settlements down towards the south and west. We've got a whole bunch of goblin pits. Well, we've got dark goblin pits, dark goblin pit,
Mm-hmm.
dark pit. Okay, well, normally it just says goblin and all that, but we've got that. And then if we look over here in the right around the western humans is a bunch of dwarven fortresses and dwarven settlements. So basically how this works is we've got an entire world that obviously has civilizations and settlements already in it. And you can go and quickly select over on the bottom here, choose your civilization. You can only ever play as dwarves for obvious reasons. So we've only got one civilization of dwarves right now.
Feels a bit redundant then. Choose your civilization. The only dwarves are option.
I'd be willing to bet they probably considered other civilizations, but that's going to add a lot more mechanics into it, like cuz you'd have to actually be able to do everything that civilization does. So, like
Elves tree huggers, the tree building
that's
mechanic. I
the
don't know.
well no, like that's the thing. It's like the elves don't really destroy trees and plants. So, there's that. And currently they don't like killing animals, so it's like there's that. So there goes all the majority of your clothing and manufacturing.
Now I'm
Uh,
just picturing. Now I'm just picturing nude elves. I do not. Well, I wouldn't say nude elves, but
the only real two races you could kind of play as is obviously the humans and then maybe the goblins. But for the most part, it's up in the air. There are a lot more races than just what you've seen, though. Like the main four that you're gonna always consistently run into is goblins, elves, and humans, and of course dwarves. But there are other intelligent creatures in the worlds that are generated. Anything from weird mythical Mike Wazowski looking creatures to just walking dragon looking things. Like there's a whole
yes, the unicorn.
literally this is just a whole big fantasy world, but for the most part every world's going to consistently generate those four races. So don't worry if you don't think, oh, I'm going to have no elves in my world. No, you probably will. You probably will. So don't worry about
I
it.
feel like how technologically advanced are the goblins? I feel like playing as them would just be bashing rocks together and be like, oh,
Base
fire, oh.
the goblins go between one of two different ways. They either are extremely low tech or are like near advanced, just like you. So if you're capable of producing armor, then chances are they might also have armor, or they might just come running at you with some sticks and rocks. So goblins are back and forth. They're literally goblins. So don't expect much from them. But
Isn't that the philosophy with all goblins?
but basically. So there's that. Pretty much the game is very identical to Rimworld in this state right now, where you get to kind of just choose your location on where you want to go and what kind of things you want to deal with. As you can see, as I'm kind of moving my cursor around, you can kind of see the different materials that I can kind of run into. And my different neighbors from the elves, humans, and obviously the goblins, which I will note now. The goblins are always consistently hostile towards you. They are the natural enemy of in the game, where they will always go and fight you. But technically, the dwarves and goblins have always been enemies, so on that front, it doesn't really matter.
Maybe it's the height. You never know.
You never know. But yeah, no, they're both short, so they gotta go and fight for who's the shortest.
I don't think that's what you will fight for.
But there's that. So I'm gonna go and quickly throw myself down in an area in the game. That way I can just go and kind of give you a proper idea on what this game is like, because I'm gonna do a little bit of a review here. So I'm gonna just throw myself here. I'm just gonna go and turn off enemies for right now, and I don't need to prepare carefully. I'm just going to throw myself in. So, this game...
Turn off enemies. You don't exist anymore.
You don't exist.
Thanos snap and they'll vanish.
There are no werebeasts that'll come after me today. But
I declare it as such.
But basically, this game is a top-down game where you have multitude of layers, where you can only see anything inside a layer or on the layer you're on. You can see lower layers underneath you in the Steam version. I don't think you can on the main website version, on the free version. But as of the graphics that are right now, you can go and see lower layers and can see what's going on down there. If you can see like your dwarves moving around, or you can see the different plants and animals. But for the most part, you can only ever interact with the layer that you're actually looking on, and you can tell what layer you're on by looking at the minimap, and it will tell you the numeric layer you are on. So there is that. We're gonna go down here and look at our dwarves who are just running around a broken cart for some reason.
they're
I
they're
cannot
not exactly mentally sound.
I cannot explain to you as to why they always go and have a broken cart and it's never a functioning cart. But, you know, there you go.
You never know. The dwarves invented many things, but apparently not therapists or
No.
repairmen.
No. But basically, this game is literally you run around, you go and throw your dwarves at some trees and in some rock and start building away a fortress. It doesn't matter in which manner you do so, but you just kind of do that.
You do it, and eventually it happens. It's like Minecraft. You go to a tree and you start smacking it. Eventually something will happen.
Yeah, it's just instead of using your fists and your fists breaking, you just, be a normal person and use tools. What came first? What came first, the human or the tools? That is up for you to decide.
Depends on what you classify as a tool. Some people would call humans tools.
But pretty
such
much,
as married women.
Pretty much, this game had a very interesting way of playing initially, where I can go and hover over the dig order right now, and it says a hotkey of M. So if I go and move my mouse up here and press M, it'll go and give me the digging orders that I can have. And then I can go and look at the different digging orders from T, R, U, and X. And there are the different digging orders that you can go and have your dwarves perform. Before the current Steam release, you had to go and hit every single key bind. You had to hit every single hotkey in order to do anything. Everything from going and making a placement instead of with your mouse, as I am doing now, where I can go and set up a box for a dig order, where I can just go and dig into the side of this mountain or hill here, where I just make a box and it's however big I want it to be. You actually had to move with your arrow keys ever so slowly to make the box ever so larger. So there's a quick reason why I'm going to say why this was kind of a carpal tunnel based game, because it was a carpal tunnel. It was a carpal tunnel inducing game. Everything you did was a very slow process. So adding in the HUD that they have kind of makes everything a lot easier than what it was. So initially, I'm just going to go and kind of dig into the hill here and just kind of give you an idea on what players would get themselves into. So as I'm doing this and letting the dwarves go and whack away at dirt as they love, I'm going to kind of explain some of the different mechanics that you might come across in this game. So you've got everything from your dwarves needing food, obviously, to them needing drinks. Because what are dwarves known for? Digging and getting drunk. And in this game, instead of water, they just drink. They are almost ever drunk creatures that almost need to be drunk in order to survive. Just like how we need water to survive, they need something like, drug-inducing to survive.
Okay.
I don't really know how to explain it. That's like the mythology behind dwarves.
You could have said anything. They need alcohol to survive. No, they need drugs to survive.
Well, I mean, alcohol is a drug, so I'm not wrong.
I mean,
you can't
not
say
really.
No, my mother's an addiction counselor, and I'd be willing to bet she would say it's a drug.
Yeah, but that's speaking philosophically, not literally.
Well, it interacts with the brain as it does with the chemical imbalance.
Okay, then.
Okay.
Armchair therapist.
But basically, in Fortress mode, you're going to be thrown down into a situation where I am in right now, where you go and get a few starting population, and your main goal is to both keep them alive and happy. So in order to keep them both alive and happy, you need resources in order to feed them, as well as, provide them with entertainment. Entertainment being drinks. Which you can see up here, I have an unknown amount of 60. The little squiggly line there, which I really can't remember what the name for that symbol is. But Basically, if you see your stats, your food, drink, seeds, meat, fish, and plants and other in this state, it means you do not have what is known as a no bookkeeper. Which a bookkeeper kind of just manages the resources that you have and keeps track of it all. Literally, just slapping one of those guys down in your nobles area, nobles and admins, literally just slapping any one of your dwarves down and then giving them a small room with a bookshelf and a seat and table literally goes and easily solves that problem. So that's one of the things that any player can literally get out of the way really quickly. The main problem though is actually going and getting yourselves actual proper resources to deal with. So you're gonna want to go over to your workshop, start making different materials. Carpenter's workbench, we're gonna throw that down. Then we're gonna also throw down a stone worker's workbench. That way you can go and quickly deal with the main two resources that you're going to be dealing with, which is logs and stone. Logs and stone can make pretty much anything that you possibly need, but you are going to be consistently needing more and more of it. And as you go and gather more and more of it, i.e. your different materials, your different ores, your different logs, you're going to actually be gaining wealth, which in this game can actually go and create more difficulty, as the more wealth you gain, the higher your population, the more the game's gonna realize, oh hey, you got a thriving civilization there. I don't care that all your dwarves are unhappy and depressed and angry at you. I'm gonna throw a couple werebeasts and dragons and stuff at you. So basic.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, have fun. Basically, this game, its main phrase that everyone will forever continue to say is losing is fun. That is something I will say is subjective. It is very subjective. But basically, their main catchphrase is losing is fun. Now, to me, losing is a learning experience. But
that's a nice way of saying not fun.
Yeah, it's not. Losing tends to not be fun. I don't enjoy losing, but other people might. But in this
very
game,
competitive god.
Yes, but in this game, the developers and parts of the community will always say losing is fun. And no matter what in this game, losing is a learning experience. You kind of have to lose in this game to learn what works and what doesn't. And sometimes what works is something you least expect. So going and making some kind of unorthodox way of dealing with a situation, let's say you want to go and keep creatures out of your base, well, you can go and maybe use some kind of drawbridge system where it goes and traps them within a certain area. And that might deal with the situation, or you can put spikes at the bottom of the trap. Or you can do what some players do and set up a moat that goes and drowns them towards a certain direction where all their little gear and items and body parts can be collected for your dwarves to use for whatever purpose they might possibly need.
Because, if you're like that kind of person, then you're a very questionable god with very questionable morals. You're what we call an Aztec god.
Just a bit. But
religious humor, anyways.
But for the most part, it's really just go at it whatever way you want type of game. Like I've said, you can kind of just throw down orders like I've been doing, and just tell them to do stuff. As you've seen, they've cut down trees, they're gathering plants, they're going and digging into a wall to go and create a hole that which they could go and possibly live in if they really wanted to. They will do what you tell them to. In which order they will, I can't really tell you in which order they will do it, because they just kind of do it. But
if you really want to role play, you can just play this game and have in the background, I am a dwarf and I'm digging.
No, you can. No, literally, I can. Here.
Don't you dare! We don't need copyright problems.
No, I'm not gonna do that. But I'm gonna go into my tasks, or my labors, and go and make every single one of them a miner. And I'm just gonna start digging out in like every direction and just have them go at it.
You ever want to know how God's job feels like? Play this game, and then you'll wonder.
Basically, like if you've ever had the idea of like, I wonder how God feels about us. You can very well just play this game, because half the time when you're playing the game, you'll be like, why are you upset? Why are you angry? You have food, you have water, you have a room to yourself, you have a place where you can worship your God, who might not even exist and probably is more disappointed in you than happy. Like,
Wouldn't know, but just a thought.
it's like, oh yes, I praise my war, or my God of death. Oh yes, your God of death. Literally.
Wait,
like,
can you actually get them to praise you?
Well, no, I don't think they praise you, the player. I cannot confirm that. I can't. But what I can confirm is there are dwarves who will literally like pray to the god of death. Like they're kind of god of death, and it's like, ah, yes, death.
The god of death. That's the one you chose.
That's what you want to pray to.
Okay then.
There's a whole lot you can pray to there.
Why you jump from that to death is beyond me, but hey, you do you, buddy.
Yeah. So pretty much for the most.
For anyone developers listening, make it so that the dwarfs can pray to you. That would actually be a really interesting feature.
That would actually that would be interesting, where like the game kind of keeps track of how many times you kind of intervene in a specific way, where like you have your dwarves do something unorthodox that they normally wouldn't be doing. So, like, let's say you go and force them to go and create, like, a bunch of statues in such a way. Because you can go and order statues to be made in certain ways. Let's say, like, the game kind of keeps track of things that you do like that. And over time, your dwarves are going to be like, are we being controlled? Or do we have to pray to our god? Like it comes to a point where like, they kind of gain, in a way, sentience, but it's not actually sentience. Like...
Please don't say that. We don't need the force. It needs the singularity. Computer is religious.
Well, I mean, for all we know, this game could be sentient.
We have made this all divisive.
They're coming.
But bad jokes aside, but the point is, like, I made the joke for SimCity before, like, or not Sims. I made the joke about Sims before, right? But the funny thing is, in like the Sims Medieval, there's a very interesting mechanic that I've always liked. And it's the idea that you're kind of playing the role legitimately as a god. Like, it is canonically stated that you're a god. And there's a whole shtick of the Watcher, which you're the Watcher, and you can build, like, temples to yourself and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And they'll pray to you, stuff like that. That would be a really interesting mechanic to kind of have in this kind of game.
And, I mean, in this game, that kind of thing can happen, because you can make, what is it? No, like, you can make offering places, which are just little pedestals and stuff. And you can go and basically set up areas where they can be classified as temples. And literally you can set up, like, different temples. You can set up a indiscriminative temple who just worships anyone and everyone. Or you can have dedicated temples for specific deities and stuff that your dwarves would probably enjoy. So, like, in this case, I have four dwarves who worship the fortresses, the war, victory, and dusk god. So, I think it's in that order. And then I've got one. Okay, speaking of death, I have one dwarf who goes and worships death, blight, and disease.
I keep an eye on that one. Lock him up.
There's always something interesting to go and see in this game. And for the most part, I like the game more mechanical. Like, I enjoy the game like this. But in this game, you can go over and look at all your dwarves, and you can go and actually do a proper look at them. And you can get an overview of them, how old they are. So we're looking at, I'm just going to say Toon. And they are 56-year-old female. They're healthy currently, and their skills include an adept miner, a skilled appraiser, and a dabbling herbalist. and you can kind of just see like all of the different things that they have going on. So like if we look at relations, you can see that they're close friends with the expedition leader, they're friends with the mason, they're close friends with both the fisherman, stone crafter, and woodcutter, and then just regular friends with the bookkeeper. And then you can see their groups. Now in this one, this tends to be one that gets filled up pretty quickly as you play the game. But for the most part, we only have one dwarven civilization, so there's only one dwarf civilization. But this might change if you have a bunch of different dwarven civilizations and you've been playing for a little while. And then you've got only one site government, which is obviously the government that is kind of the one that you're controlling right now. This is the group of 7 dwarves. And then we've got military. We've got no military, so you got that. We've got no one defending.
We have the military that doesn't exist.
Yeah, we got no one defending these guys, so just don't worry about that. You can see their thoughts, which ranges from everything to literally, I feel nothing at work. I feel nothing talking to my friends. I feel like literally the most depressing looking thing to they feel satisfied, remembering, like annoyed.
Oh, we found the sociopaths.
Yeah, like
which one's the pervert?
I mean, sometimes when you're looking at the thoughts of your dwarves, you can literally think, okay, this one has to be a sociopath. Like, why are you literally, you feel nothing drinking mead. You feel nothing working. You feel nothing crafting. Like, what do
That's what we call
do?
dead inside midlife crisis. That's
basically. Then under Toon, we can also look at their personality. We can go and see kind of into the mind of Toon and how they behave and what they do, which all of your dwarves will kind of, in a way, behave in different ways where they kind of have their own morals. So it's interesting to see how they behave.
Morals?
Yes. If they have morals. Some of them have none. Keep that in mind. But for the most part, like you can see like Toon here is a very interesting. Well, I'm not going to say interesting, but she has a calm demeanor. She isn't particularly curious about the world. Like, interesting. You don't care about the world and tend to be very calm. You sound like an elf.
You sound like a depressing elf. Go away.
And then you can go and see their items that they have. You can also see, while you're watching one, their different status and things that they're doing. So currently right now, they're while Toon went from eating to now no job. And if I go and quickly slap down a dig order, I'm pretty sure Toon's going to go running over and doing that. Yep, no, Toon's now digging. And digging away. You can go and see the health of your characters, so you can see their overall status, you can see their wounds, their treatments, their wound history. So it's like, I got a stab wound in my upper arm and lower thigh. And it's like, it is long since healed in such a manner where it was dressed and stitched up by this guy. Like, it'll go through everything. And keep in mind, we're currently going from one season to another, so the games kind of takes a second to chug and save everything, because that's how this game operates.
Everything is saving constantly.
Everything kind of is saving.
Perhaps we should say this. Word of warning. This will crash your computer given enough time.
Yes, I was.
It is one of those simulations.
I was going to get into that. So if you, this game is a very low intensive game on your overall hard drive space. Even if you've had a world like going for thousands of years, overall it's not really that hard drive intensive. What is intensive for your computer though is your CPU and overall processing, which basically, keep in mind, think of it like this. Let's say you've generated the smallest world you possibly can, and you filled it with only 2 civilizations. And each civilization has 2 cities each, okay? Now let's say for every year, 1 more city is built for each civilization. Now let's look at it like this. For every city, there is 5 individuals in said city. Now imagine that over a long period of time, where 1 city is built every year and 5 individuals inhabit that city every year. This game is going to very, very quickly be very intensive on your CPU the longer you play it. So if
remember, this is
like a world generator and simulator.
Yeah, remember this is a actual world simulator, like an
Yeah,
actual mathematics scientific simulator.
like
This thing is a prediction software essentially. Given
yeah,
enough time, you will burn your computer's
like
CPU just because of
it'll
how much
go
it has to
through
predict.
it'll go through every single little thing, like to the most mundane things that I was talking about before, where like you can go and like literally, okay, right now one of the dwarves is in love with another dwarf. Like things
Ooh,
change over time, and as it all goes on, most mundane things slowly happen over time. So it might seem stupid to be like simulating like the thoughts and feelings of your dwarves, but it simulates that for your dwarves as well as every other character in the world that you have. So it's going to be simulating all of that in greater amounts the longer your world exists. So if you've been having a world that's been generating for like a couple minutes and it's generating through hundreds of years, it adds up, and it's going to be very intensive on your computer if you do not have like a good CPU. So I'm gonna say this now: if you are someone who has like an old 2000s computer, don't play this game.
ever.
You're gonna just botch your computer the moment you start it. But literally, for the most part, this is kind of what it is. It seems very stale, but the majority of the content that people enjoy the most is the storytelling, where you can go. I forget where it is here. Like yeah, like I said, you can go and look at your characters, but you can. There's other places where you can go and see the history of things that have happened. Um, I only really remember how to do it in the older version of the game, so I don't really know where to look here. I'm still learning some of the stuff here, but for the most part, like I can at any time I can go and save this game. So here,
Probably cut out the tutorial.
well, the tutorial literally just goes through like the basic fortress building. It doesn't actually go through like the history and the different stuff that you can look at. The tutorial just gives you the basics on how to go and keep a fortress alive for longer than a few months. But what I can
This is
do,
how you farm.
yeah, this is how you farm. This is how you go and get seeds back. Good luck.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why they say that the gods often like seeing war. Because let's be honest, if you were to stare at this for 2.6 million years, you'd get bored too. There's a
Yes.
reason gods like war. It's fun to
There's a
watch.
reason why you enjoy watching different Dwarven civilizations fight each other. But
And now you know how God feels.
yes. But what I can do here is I can actually I should be able to go. No, here, hold on a minute. I'm gonna load this back up. I'm pretty sure I have to go and retire this fortress, which is something that you can do in this game. You can actually go and start up a fortress. Well, no. Here, this might sound interesting for you. You can go and start up. Oh, this is a different fortress that I have. Well, either way, I can show you this. Well, no, actually, I'm not going to show you this because this is one that I want. But basically, what you can do is you could start up a dwarf fortress in a world, and then after a while, if you feel satisfied with it, or you literally just started it and that's it, you can then go and retire the fortress at any point in time. There are two options when it comes to I don't care about this fortress anymore. There's the retire fortress option, and then there is the okay, here's the nuclear option. I'm going to leave you to fend for yourselves. Good luck, leave the fortresses to ruin. That's it. So both
God
options,
never met you.
both options don't matter exactly as much because no matter what, the world is still going to be there. Both options achieve the same goal of okay, I don't care about this fortress anymore. I'm going to move on. So here, I'm going to retire this fortress because I'm just going to leave it. And this basically retiring a fortress just gives you the option to return to it, but keep in mind, so it's going to say it's gotten into a rhythm of day to day, even though I don't have any kind of farm set up on this fortress. For some reason, they're going to, at least for the most part, stay alive. So they'll be fine for the most part. So I'm going to go and save this into the timeline, which is the recommended thing that you do. You can create quote unquote new timelines, which is basically just different saves. It like timelines for this are literally just saves, so don't worry about that. If you want like different saves, like multiple saves, like you can see here, I've got 3 saves on this game, 2 save or 1 save, 1 save. You have different saves for every single world you have. So we're going to go and load up this one. Oh no, wait, I loaded up a fortress again like I normally did. Don't worry about it. But basically, how it works is you can retire a fortress, and then you can go back to the starting a world thing where it'll bring up the world that you just had with the fortress that you just retired. So here, yeah, this is the fortress that we just retired. Yeah, I just loaded the quick save, or yeah, the quick save. So don't worry about that. But basically, I can go back into the world, and we will be able to actually see our little fortress if we go to the Legends mode, potentially. So, yeah, start a new world, or start a new fortress, new game in an existing world. So we're gonna process this. You will find you'll be loading a lot. This will be very reminiscent to those games where you're stuck in loading screens. But when you're actually in the game, you're not stuck in the loading screen forever. So here we go. We're gonna look in Legends real quick. We're going to go over to sites, and we're going to, let's see, should be at the bottom. No. Mountainous Hills. I think. I'm not particularly too dabbled within the fortress mode, or in the Legends mode. I'm more of a just a fortress mode.
A word of warning. Let's make sure that we're not sitting here for 3 hours, because I feel like if we get into this too much, we're going to be sitting here for 3 years.
Yes.
In-game.
Basically, I'm going to say this for what it is. I am not the type of person you want to go to if you're trying to learn like all of the different story stuff, because I myself don't care too much about the story. I care more of the basic mechanics in the fortress mode. I just care about throwing dwarves into different situations and watching them suffer, basically.
He is a very cruel god.
I can be a cruel god. I can be a forgiving god to those who survive, but I am very cruel to those who don't.
How Old Testament of you.
Yes.
Religious humor. Topical.
Yes. But basically, I can actually go back into Fortress.
It's not a Christian audience, you know that, right?
Basically, I can go back into Fortress mode here, and I can actually go and look around for where I went and built our fortress initially. So give me a quick moment here as I go and look around for it. Somewhere around the north up here, I believe. Yeah, there it is. There's our fortress. There are Dwarven Fortress of Rimran Shaksh. Yes.
They were taught many things. Linguistics was not one.
Keep in mind, Dwarven speech and human speech are 2 different things, so don't expect the dwarves to be speaking like you and I.
I don't think even Tolan would approve of this. I don't think...
Tolan doesn't understand. But basically, you can go and create a new embark location, so you can kind of zoom into a different location and embark like I did the first time. Or if I wanted to, I can go back up here to reclaim and retire. Oh, wait, is this where the fortress is? Oh wait, is this a different fortress?
He lost his own people. He is not a very good god.
I'm not a good god. Like I said, I don't retire fortresses. I just kind of keep them going until they die. And then
retire fortress basically means you drop a meteor on it.
Basically, no. That's leave fortress to ruin. Leave fortress to ruin is goodbye now, children. I'm going to sacrifice you like I did the dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs you are next.
But this game is, like I said, something a lot of people who enjoy storytelling, like a lot of people who like D&D, tend to like this game for the storytelling aspect and the different world building it can have. So, actually, I don't even think this is our world. Maybe it is. No, it's not. No, this isn't our world. I don't know. I don't even know what our world is anymore. I really
I am
don't. I've
here.
like I said, I'm still relatively new to the new AI. I'm good or the HUD. I'm used to the old one, not the new one. So I'm still lost half the time. So that's something people desperately are trying to get used to. But for the most part, this is kind of what you're getting yourself into, and it is, like I said, in some cases a very dull game and not a game at all for a lot of people. But if you're someone who enjoys a game like RimWorld, this might be a game that you might enjoy, specifically the Fortress mode. And a quick side note, actually, to anyone who does play RimWorld, Dwarf Fortress was actually an inspiration for that game, as well as a few other different games. So Dwarf Fortress, it's weird how it's so old to the point where it's inspired other games, and in a way is trying to keep up with the rest of the games that it helped found. But Dwarf Fortress is just in its own little bubble, and it enjoys that, and a lot of people enjoy that too. So, for the most part, a very small indie game that has kind of kicked off a whole bunch lately within the span of what has it been, a week and a half now. So there you go. Very small, quick little. Well, not really quick. This is fucking an hour long now. But
Like I said,
I'm not gonna keep you here for any longer than this. I'm not gonna play through the game anymore. But pretty much, this is basically what you're getting yourself into when you're playing this game. And like I have said, not a game for everyone. Not saying you should be playing this. I am saying if you are someone who dabbles with, godly powers like the Sims and stuff like that.
you just dabble with that kind of thing.
Well, no, like if you enjoy going and like having individuals or creatures slowly go and accomplish the tasks that you set upon for them, and then inevitably either die in battle, like glorious battle that you throw them into, or just die a horrible death from like some kind of rare creature or demon, then this might actually be a game for you. Or, like I said, if you're someone who enjoys Dungeons and Dragons, and you just kind of want to go and what?
That's actually a good comparison for this kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
You could actually.
like I said, like the whole generating a world and just going through the Legends mode is something a lot of, like I said, a lot of Dungeons and Dragons players enjoy. Like they want to, like I've actually heard a good number of people go and say, I just do that basically so I can go and get an idea on how I can go and create my own world. Like people do that just to go and get a better mindset on how they can go and like create their own world and how they can go and make civilizations interact with one another. Like it's a good game to play if you're interested in one of those two things. So there's that. I can't really speak much on the adventure mode because that was one that I never really dabbled in myself. Like I said, I always like the masochistic go dwarves, go for glorious battle, even though this isn't really glorious and I'm just throwing you into the pit for no reason. Like,
Now you're starting to sound like a Greek god.
well, that's kind of how I've always treated my dwarves, literally as a Greek god. I'd go and literally make them dig a hole, fill it with water, and then empty all the water out. Like, that's basically what I would do with my dwarves.
And when the dwarves ask, but why, old father, do you do this? You just go, because I was bored.
Because I wanted to see how long it took you to do something so simple as fill up a hole. But pretty much there's that. Real quick, I'll quickly go over what I said at the beginning, which was games sold a whole bunch, which right now it is sold around a net revenue of around 6.3 million. So that's a whole lot of money since December 6th.
So clearly somebody's playing it.
Yes, there are a lot of people who've been playing this game, and it's actually interesting where for a good while people would go and say, hey, why not just play the free version? And for the most part, you're right, but I'm going to go back to the point of there's a weird primal instinct in all of our brains where we just kind of enjoy being able to actually see something that we're looking at rather than guessing what we're looking at. So you can go and look
I
at
don't
it.
keep the crystal ball.
Yeah, like you can go and look at a dwarf, and instead of it being like a smiling face staring back into you into the void that you are, you can actually go and look at a dwarf in this version of the game and say, "Oh, hey, look, it's a little dwarf. He's wearing a little blue coat. He's got some red shoes on." Like, you can kind of have a world that you yourself can look at and interact with while you're interacting with, and while you're telling your dwarves to go dig a hole for the 18th millionth time.
Not that he would know anything about that.
Yes. So, like that. Pretty much this is very similar to the endoparasitic video, which really, in all honesty, they're pretty much the same. The only real difference is endoparasitic is more of a small short story, while Dwarf Fortress is one that will continuously simulate and generate more and more worlds for anyone and everyone to enjoy and read through or play through if they ever so desire. I will quickly make a side point. Here's a quick little tidbit for anyone who's interested. I don't know exactly where this mechanic comes in, but keep in mind, when you are creating a fortress, you always have 7 dwarves. Now, I don't know exactly where those 7 dwarves come from, if they come from some random city, or if they just fall out of the sky.
The dwarf origin story.
So, I'm just going to say this for what it is. If you really wanted to, you could go and consistently create a whole bunch of small little settlements and then create a larger one and hope that all of the dwarves around you just kind of migrate to you because you're the only settlement that's actually good. all they have is just a stray wagon while you just go and have like an actual fortress that they can go and run to. So I don't know. Just me. Just food for thought that you might actually just be popping things into the world suddenly. I don't really know if the game actually goes and mechanically like creates all of the different dwarves and items that you start with, or if it literally just spawns it in. Like I said, don't know. But something I've actually started dabbling around with and have found very interesting in doing, because it's like, oh hey, I can practically start with even more dwarves than you really do, because the neighboring dwarves realize, hey, this guy actually has food here.
He has food. Something we don't.
Food, drink, and shelter. We just have this broken wagon.
The dwarf Genesis story must be very strange.
Yes.
And in the beginning, there was a wagon.
No, in the beginning, it is literally the chicken and the egg, which is what came first, the dwarf or the anvil? Because frankly, you can't really create an anvil without an anvil. So what came first? Did the anvil create the dwarf, or did the dwarf somehow create the anvil out of thin air?
Yeah, no, the anvil just came out from the soil, and the dwarf just materialized in front of it, and he was like, yes. Yes.
The dwarf just kind of popped into existence on top of the anvil, looked around, and then just slammed a tree onto the anvil and created a pickaxe. It's like, I have one purpose.
I have a purpose.
So, there's that. Hopefully you all enjoy. Again, literally a short little video. I don't expect much when I do this, but this is literally one of those games that I actually grew up with, and a lot of other people have enjoyed over the many years. So, it is nice for me at least to see that this game is kind of really started to really try to kick itself off. The developers kind of pushing the game to a new area where more and more people can actually enjoy it. Because for what it is, I'll be honest with you, not too many people would have enjoyed the old game in going and giving themselves carpal tunnel just to go and dig holes and slowly place hundreds of beds into a multitude of rooms. Like, I don't think that would have been enjoyable, even to you, Nick. I don't think you would have enjoyed that.
I'm a glutton for punishment, but I don't know if you and I can tolerate that.
Yeah, like I don't think you would tolerate going and having to dig like a multitude of caverns just to dig a bunch of rooms slowly to go and create every single one without being able to use your mouse. So
Reminds me of my
I
days trying to go.
yeah. So again, I'm pretty like no matter what. At the end of the day, this is like a big step forward for this game to go and like really go outside of the realm of just being mechanical and now functional in human standards rather than computer standards. Because the
I
game's
remember.
always been functional, but it's not been functional for the human mind.
Yeah, no, this reminds me of our old HTML thing, or maybe even just my HTML professor of old. They would sit there, they'd sit in front of a computer, they'd open command prompt, and they'd say, "See the mouse? Yeah, forget it. This
Yeah,
is all you need." And they'll
yeah,
just
no,
point to the
that
keyboard
was our
like this.
teacher. Yeah, no, that was our teacher.
I was like,
He literally at the start of class, he opened the command prompt. He's like, "You all know what the command prompt is, right? Good. That's all you're going to be ever doing. You don't need your mouse. You see the mouse? You don't need it."
"You don't need it. Unplug it and get rid of it."
Yeah,
But yeah, honestly,
that
that's
was actually his legitimate words. Unplug your mouse. You don't need it.
honestly, that's the thing. But here's the thing. I will say this: as a man who's been in the games industry and has been covering the news, I think honestly longer than you, Justin.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
with
No, no,
like 5 6
I'm not. No, I'm not. I have not been like a news person when it comes to the games. I just enjoy the games that I play, and that's it.
Yeah. Coming from my kind of knowledge of the games industry, this is a game that the developers have been supporting for 20 odd years,
Yes.
which certainly shows desperation.
Not
Say
really
desperation.
desperation, more of just a will. Like, I no, I'm
That's
not
the
gonna
word I
say.
was going to use. I don't know why that was the first thing that came to my mouth. But
No, I'm not
I was
gonna.
going to say this shows dedication. That's the word I was looking for.
No,
Dedication.
I'm not. I will say this: there is a little bit of desperation to it, because in a way, you want your game to continue and to succeed, and you are desperate in hoping that people will continue to play it. And Dwarf Fortress is a game that people will definitely continue to play for quite a long time to continue.
Oh yeah, no.
So
This is
that
a game where,
desperation probably faded very quickly after the initial release.
yeah, no, that was not the word I wanted to say. I don't know why that was the word that came out. My word was dedication. I
Oh.
don't know why my brain said desperation.
Hey, don't
Slip
worry
of the
about
tongue.
it. Don't worry about it. You're fine.
Anyways, it shows dedication on part of the developers. I mean, you're sitting here for 20 odd years. Many games in the industry, unless they're like successful, do not stay around for like more than 3 5 years.
Yeah.
Look at the MMO like boom of the early
Well,
2010s.
no, look at games like Call of Duty and Halo. There's always a new one that goes and brings a new story or somewhat of a new story, new maps, some reminiscent of new weapons and content for you to enjoy. But it's always something new. It's always a different game. It's nothing. It's not a game
Is
that's
it?
been really expanded on. Or
Yeah.
in the case of like some online games where it's like, okay, it gets expanded on, but sometimes content might get removed or changed in such a manner that isn't reminiscent to what it originally was. Or because or because new content gets added, the old content gets changed in such a way that isn't really enjoyable like it originally was.
I mean, Warcraft kind of had that issue, and that's why they kind of went back to vanilla basics, right?
Yeah.
The game expanded on so much that people almost missed the original, right?
Yeah.
There's not
No, like
games that
there, like
exist.
in Warcraft, there were many times where people would go and take place in some kind of event or quest or do some kind of content in a certain way, and later on they could go back to it, sure, but they were powered in such a way. There were so many new things and items that it just made playing through that same content trivial and useless, and it make the player feel like they're not actually accomplishing anything or even performing what they did initially. They're just kind of existing within that content, and that's it. Like,
Yeah, no, there really aren't many games that have survived from that era that are of any note. Like, especially like I said, of the MMO genre. Like, there are only a few that, like, funny enough, this actually kind of goes back to what we were even saying during the Game Awards when I kind of like half jokingly questioned like why the Final Fantasy series got best ongoing game, despite my thing being like Genshin Impact or Destiny or stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I know exactly why it is, and I'll be honest with you, this is exactly it. Genshin's good, but it's new. Destiny's good, but it's only been around.
It's revolving and ever changing content.
Yeah, it's evolving and ever changing content, and it's older, sure, but when you look at something like Final Fantasy, what was it, 16, 17? I don't even know what they call that one. I think it's just Final Fantasy Online. It's
Yeah.
been around since, let me just get my numbers right so I can get some right citations here.
Yep.
FF Online. Here we go. Meh. Oy. Fine. Be that way, Google.
Google, work with me.
Google. There we go. I'm using Bing here, so it doesn't do this. Fine, I'll go to Firefox. This is why I don't like Chromium or Google. Useless. All of it useless.
Useless. Big on.
Big gun. Go back to your corner of existence. It came out in 2010. You know, very few games from that era are still around.
Yeah.
Star Wars,
like,
you'll Final Fantasy.
like the only game that I can the only game that I can think of is mainly a single player game, which is Minecraft, which came out a year after it. And well, no, technically Minecraft existed before 2011. Well, not here. Give me a moment.
It's for citations.
Give me a moment.
Now you got to do it.
Yeah, my turn. Yeah,
but
2011 on November. I think I can't remember what was here. 1.0 update. Okay, so yeah, the 1.0 update, like the full proper release of Minecraft was 2011, but technically Minecraft existed like a few years before that with its alpha and beta stages. And it did have its own multiplayer games with people playing on it, but for the most part, multiplayer didn't really exist forever. There are some multiplayer servers that have continued since around the very beginning of Minecraft, 2B2T being one of them, which has been a Minecraft server that's been out since around the alpha beta stages. But
regardless,
yeah, like for the most part, the game's been a single player game, and it's not like Final Fantasy where it's like an online game where content kind of just keeps getting added to it. The world keeps getting added to it. So
there are not many developers and devs and games in general that have some level of involvement from the devs 10, 20 years onward.
yeah, like for the most part, games just kind of get made, and that's it. Like games kind of get made like your Fallout, your Call of Duty, your like the games like that. Like it gets pumped out, and then that's it. The developers might change a few things here and there later down the line to go and make things fair or difficult in a certain aspect, like going and updating and fixing a few bugs. But for the most part, they just kind of leave it, and that's it.
Yeah, there might be some DLC for the next like year or so.
Yep.
But beyond those, like what, 2 years, maybe 3 if you're lucky at most. That's it. Next game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like going and speaking on DLC, I'll quickly go over to RimWorld real quick. RimWorld has its initial copy, and then it has supplemental DLCs with different content that can be added to it. But no matter what, in a way, it's not really being changed or really added to. It's not getting anything new. For the most part, only really bug fixes would happen, and any new content you want would be just a entirely separate area, which is just a DLC. So, no matter what, like I mean, I can't really speak entirely on what's going to happen with RimWorld because RimWorld is still relatively new. Not super new, but still relative. So I can't really speak what's going to happen in the future for RimWorld. But it's still in that state where it's like the base game isn't being added to. The base game isn't getting anything really new. It's just supplemental content that you can optionally add to.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see what happens to a game like Dwarf Fortress, and I'm pretty sure there are many other games out there that you and I probably don't know of, and then there are some that you know of that I don't. Like,
very
probably. Like, well, actually, no. I'll say this. Was it Wizard 101? You know that one?
Yeah, I know that one. I used to play that one when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And Pirates 101, but
I honestly don't know what's going on with that game, but I know for 100% certainty that game's still running. That game still has a lot of people playing it. So it's kind of interesting to see games like that just continue, and it's even more heartwarming to a lot of different people when they see like a game that they've played a long time ago still running, and it's still getting updates, or it's still having developers, like the developers still working on it and fixing it and maintaining it. Like it's good for people to see, and it is in a way slightly a nice change of pace when it comes to the games industry, in the whole cut and dry factory printout type mindset of just make the game, pump out the game, make the game, pump out the game.
Yeah, they make the game, pump out the game, maybe some DLC for the next year or two, and then that's it. They move on.
They move on to the next game.
Yeah, no. To support a game for multiple years, and in the case of RimWorld, almost 2 decades as of next year, like 3 years short of 2 decades as of next year.
Let me give an exact for RimWorld.
Because not RimWorld, Dwarf Fortress.
Dwarf Fortress. Dwarf Fortress came out 2006, so in about four years it'll be 2 decades.
Yeah, so 2 decades. So most games do not survive past 5.
Yeah.
So again, that is incredibly impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
especially in the public conscience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, take a second. Do you know Don't Starve or Factory Not Included? Or Oxygen Not Included?
Yeah, I've heard of them. I've seen them too.
Like, I haven't really seen much of any content for those 2 games. But over the large majority of years, even though I haven't really gone out of my way to watch Dwarf Fortress content, I still occasionally see content about the game. Like, the only reason why before I found out about the Steam release, I would occasionally see content about Dwarf Fortress. Like, it's kind of interesting to always see the games continuously going and having a community go for it. Like, I'll go for like games like Minecraft and Team Fortress 2. 2 games that have existed relatively for a good amount of time, and no matter what's going to hold on to a game is both the developers and the community, and those are the 2 pillars that are consistently going to forever keep a game alive. Even if the community gives up on a game, if the developers don't give up on a game, then the game in a way does still exist. It's just going to have a much smaller audience. But if the community holds onto a game, then the community, like, it's going to have a big audience. It's just the developers don't care anymore. Like, that's the thing. Yeah.
Like, it says one thing when the community keeps up on a game. There's always I'll say this.
There will always be people who will care for a game.
There will always be people who care about the game. There will always be that group. But when a developer still keeps on for the game, that says something.
Yes. No, like that's the kind of thing you want in games, in the game industry in general. Like, because when the developers care about the game, that means they care about their work, and that means they want to go and put out something that people will actually enjoy.
Which, in this modern age is sadly not becoming. It's more about make money, not make fun.
How fast can I go and pump out content?
Honestly, or how much money can I get out of microtransactions from my player base before I can move on to the next $1 million idea?
Yeah.
I don't remember who said it in the games industry, but it basically goes along the lines of something like this, where it's like, nowadays games aren't designed to be fun; they're designed to be profitable.
Yep.
So,
which is why I no matter what, will always say, don't buy a game because you like it. Don't buy a game because someone else tells you to get it. Buy a game because you yourself will actually be entertained playing it. Which is why I will say, you shouldn't get Dwarf Fortress because I tell you. You should get it because if you want to get it. If you find some aspect of it that might actually be enjoyable for you. Don't get it because you think you should be getting it. Get it because you think you want it, or you know you want it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the crux of the whole thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But anyways, we've been talking for more than 2 hours, so...
I feel like us getting deep philosophical about games and stuff like this is good, so, Well,
it's a good thing, I just don't think our audience would agree. They want to go to bed.
Our audience doesn't care. What do you mean go to bed?
Okay, the few people. Okay, let's pretend there is someone watching this. They want to go to bed. And for the people who aren't watching this or watching the video version, you probably just want to move on to the next video at this point. So, uh,
Yes.
tis the
Oh
way
my god.
content.
I want to know something.
Well,
We're big.
we are.
We're big on YouTube.
How many people?
Technically, we had 2 viewers, but we
Go
what?
people!
But we had one of the hot girls here bots.
Ooh, we got
heard,
one of the Hydrobots.
have you heard about those lately?
I've been seeing them around.
No, like that's how you know you're popular when you get those. Now, don't mind me as I remove these messages, but that's how you know you're big.
That's how you know you're making it. But anyway, so yeah, we'll let you go. That's it, though.
At the end of the day, take this video as like a kind of shining hope that no matter what, video games can have developers that'll care about their games, and no matter what, in a way, every video game has developers that'll care about their game. What really matters is the people who are pushing for the game to be more profitable rather than enjoyable. So
Yeah.
don't strive yourself to
You mean more enjoyable than profitable?
enjoyable to profitable. You kind of get the
You
point.
get the point.
You get the point that I'm going for. But at the end of the day, don't just relax and not care about the content of a game being lackluster. Don't hold yourself like thinking this game's fine. I don't need to worry about the game being fixed or maintained. I don't need to worry about the content being added to. Don't hold yourself back because you think it'll be fine. The game will fix itself. The developers care. They'll just do their own thing. Hold yourself accountable for your game just as much as you'll hold the developers for how they make it. Like, you should always kind of push the developers to consistently take pride in their work, but also take responsibility for their work. Like, you don't leave an artist to go and just make nothing and expect them to gain a whole bunch of traction over a white canvas that they didn't even do anything with. Like,
hey, that's what we call contemporary. You put a line down a piece of page here. Art.
But there's a difference between at least putting some kind of ink on the paper and just and calling it art, and not doing anything with the paper and then calling that art. Because at that point, the paper is the work of the person who made the paper, not the artist's work. Like, I can understand you folding a piece of paper and then calling it art, but at least do something with the paper. Don't just leave the paper as is.
You're getting a touch too more philosophical than I think our audience will stand.
I know. You gotta go. I gotta go and put them to sleep. That way, the ones who are watching can sleep.
Yeah, and you're succeeding at that. I think.
I am. Either way, hopefully you all kind of enjoyed this video for what it is. And again, I kind of hope that more developers keep doing this. It's to be seen, though, if it does or doesn't happen. But no matter what, we'll see what happens next in the games industry and what developers give us next.
The cynic that I am says that this is a one-off. Good for the game, but I doubt this will become the trend.
No, it won't. But it's one of the things that I at least would say people should hope happens. That way they can kind of look forward for what does.
Absolutely.
So, any final words that you want to go and say?
You basically covered it. This was your video, bro.
Well, yeah, I know, but still, I'm just giving you the opportunity to have any final closing words.
No, you more or less covered it. Again, very good game. It's interesting. It's certainly worth something it most certainly shows the dedication on part of the developers. Like I said, 20 years or nigh 20 years at this point is a long
I mean,
time.
no, technically it is 20 years because their kind of copyright company has been around, like their brand name type thing has been around for 20 years. So they have been doing this kind of thing. Like they've been making video games and working on this kind of stuff for 20 years. So
Well, there you go. But anyways,
you're
I'm
tired. You
tired.
want sleep. So let's go.
Anyways, that's all. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the shtick. You've been on YouTube long enough, I assume, at this point.
You
So,
subscribe now.
you will subscribe. Well, the Jedi
Subscribe or Heavy will not give sandwich.
mentioned heavy disappointed. Heavy not give sandwich.
Heavy
But,
angry.
but anyways, y'all have a good night, guys. Sorry for the late video.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, if keep in mind, all right. This is for the audience, for anyone who, for future note for videos. If a video does come out late, later than what it normally is, around 12, then don't worry too much. Just note that a video will always come out around sometime on Wednesday of every single week. If it doesn't come out exactly on your time, like in your geographical time, just note it does on our geographical time. It will always come out sometime Wednesday on the eastern coast of the America.
The America.
Of the America.
Of the America. But
America.
yeah, no. Our attempts to keep it at 12 might get a bit flimsy. It depends on how things shake out, but we do at least try to keep a standard of at least one video every Wednesday. So
Yes.
there will at least be one a Wednesday. When is a matter of debate. Depends on how things shake out.
Yes.
We try.
Yeah, like future note, depending on how things play out, we might do a stream on a different day and then always have a video out on Wednesday every single time at 12 o'clock. But no matter what, there will be always something on Wednesday.
Yeah. Thus is the demand of our YouTube content overlords, the demand we must provide for the algorithm.
You must upload 20 videos every day. You must do a short the moment you can every day. You must go, and the moment you can, have a community post every day.
Insert the image of like the Liveros from frickin' DreamWorks. The Egyptian.
Honestly, at this point,
whipping.
Like, the moment we can, literally just have that be our both community post and our shorts post, and just go and have like one up every other day. It's just a repeat every single day.
We're gonna start turning into like a TV station. Our videos are just gonna get like repeated.
You must do this every day.
YouTube just whipping us until we get our content out.
Go. Either way, hopefully you all enjoyed, and we'll see you next week.
See y'all next week. Good night.